My fellow incels and sub-5s. If you've been chronically online lately, you might have noticed that on TikTok a whole new trend started to get back at women's hypocrisy in their dating selection. The trend is hiplets, a combination of hip dips, and let, as in manlet, to imply a negative aspect, a subtraction. Hip dips instead is used because it's one of the biggest insecurities women have. This whole trend started as a way to get back at women's constant hatred towards short guys, since it seems that we're their punching bag for everything that happens. Chad left her? Make a video hating on short men. It's not even funny how women genuinely can't stand short guys' existence. In their eyes, if you're short, you shouldn't even exist, to not even mention that when it comes to dating, if you're short, it's simply over. Now women have this intrinsic hatred towards short guys. How do we know this? Let me tell you this, guys. Just look at all the toxic and hateful videos that they post on the internet, or their selection, or just even social interactions with short guys. That's how you get to know their true character, by actions. Actions always speak louder than words. If on TikTok you have 1,000 plus videos of foids hating short men, simply in most cases for the sole fact they're short. And then you have data, stats, and experiments showing you how much you're not desired by pretty much 95% of them if you're my height, or even in a non-dating scenario, they still won't treat you well, even when you're not implying any sort of sexual tension. As an example, simply asking for directions in a city you don't know. They'll ignore you or will brush you off with a much higher likelihood compared to if you were a taller guy with an average face, to not even mention social interactions, like working a job. They'll try to subtly mock you, pick on you, or one of the worst is the constant unsolicited lack of respect, just because you're short, and even worse, you're aware enough that the sole reason it's because you're indeed short. Not because you really did something so bad that you deserved mistreatment. Also, remember that when girls claim that short males have some short men syndrome, or other negative feature correlated to it, it's just cope, it's a rationalization on their behalf to explain why being short is a negative in a more virtuesque way. But in reality the core negative was the fact that you're short in their eyes, and they attribute the rest to rationalize that, such as girls complaining that their short boyfriend left them, or that he must have done something wrong. Her toxic ex was of course short, of course guys, always a short ex, lol. And when these foids come on TikTok and make videos about their exes being toxic, as a way to trash on them, they always mention that he was short, or that he was not on her level in looks, but most likely you'll see the short ones being trashed. It's funny cause these bitches were with them either because they found a short Chad, or because they were benefiting from him in a way or another. When the nigga got tired of their bullshit, and left, they now call him toxic, and of course in addition, short. But hold up, you notice that when girls cry and complain online about their toxic exes, you've never really seen a video against tall toxic men? Or tall men being toxic? Or even making a video like, "My handsome ex was toxic. Handsome men are toxic." Notice that? To me that means that being short is a feature worth to specify always, as to even give more negative weight to the individual. For them saying, "My Chad ex was toxic," can't really be fathomed because that's a compliment, and they think that being Chad is absolutely a good thing. That's why they never mention that. I mean, I gave you the examples, guys, they're just telling on themselves at this point. Trashing on short men is socially acceptable, especially from women. Women socially are viewed almost as if they have a halo, so they can do whatever the fuck they want with no consequences. Since I've given you a little bit of context now, let's think about the whole trend situation. The trend mostly started from MTNs and sub-5 males, because we're the ones who are aware and concerned with these kind of issues. Our For You pages are full of BP content and such, so of course it stemmed from us. Chad's For You pages are either filled with cooking videos or foids he can try to hit on. He'll never be aware of the undergrounds. It's funny how the trend started as in a way to try to make women understand how ridiculous their manners are in selecting a partner and how superficial their choices are, all exempt of any sort of morality or virtue that they love to signal. When mentioning hiplets, they can't see the hypocrisy. We're shaming them for something out of their control, and they're going crazy. But what's more insane is that they can't genuinely see they've been doing the same to us for so long. It's like we're trying to make them understand that their ways are not so good, and it feels like talking to an inferior life form. A bacteria that is only programmed to do XYZ, and is easily predictable. Then when called this term, they all get mad and will try to get back either with flawed arguments, or with stupid stuff. Let's analyze a few. One of the sentences they might strike back with is manlet. Like, yeah, no shit. That's the reason the whole trend started, you dumb bitch. You're just proving the point. Another one is, oh well, but everybody has hip dips. This one can also be easily disproven. It's the same as saying that everybody has abs. But the catch is that only a few will have them visible, which increases a guy's appeal and SMV. The same goes for a woman with visible full hips, which do indeed exist. However, it's true that in a way, anatomically speaking, everybody has hip dips. However, a few females have full-looking hips, which increases their attractiveness. Also, when they say that everybody has them, it's still a weak argument, because I could say the same about height. Everybody has height. But guess what? Only a few are tall individuals and get selected, the short ones get screwed. Another flawed argument is, oh, but men have them too. Yeah, but we are attracted to women, so we look for feminine dimorphic features, not the opposite. Even if hip dips are a male trait, that's still invalid because we're not looking for men. That's the equivalent of a foid who wants and goes for a guy who's 6'2", while she's 5 feet. That's because height, frame, and face are seen as dimorphic male features, which a heterosexual woman would go for. Hypothetically, she could go for a 5'4" guy too, however, she doesn't do that. Wonder why? Well, because she prioritizes male-attributed features as well, like you don't go for short guys, because they're not seen as much dimorphic, and don't go with guys who have narrow shoulders and big hips. That's an instant no, it's seen as feminine, that's not what you would want in a partner. One of the funniest things they will say is, oh, but it's bone structure. Oh my god, guys, the irony. They're implying that guys' selection by the sole aspect of hip dips is derogatory and deeply superficial. However, they literally do that 24/7 with short guys, without any regards. They're too dumb to comprehend we're literally mimicking everything they do. It's funny that when we mention that, they'll say something like, it's just a preference. Meanwhile, if a guy is doing the same, it's not a preference anymore. It's bad, it's evil, oppressive, derogatory, superficial, you name it, man. It seems as if anything done by women automatically falls under a halo effect, an automatic moral high ground. They do it? Preference implies moral high ground, superiority. You do it? It's evil and bad. When they judge for features you can't change, and call it a preference to skim off any ounce of accountability and self-reflection, is right, and it's acceptable if done toward males. If you do the same judging them for something they can't change, then the whole game doesn't work no more. It's not fair, they say. Stupid hoes. But it's okay when they reduce a sole individual value on his height. Yeah, buddy, aight. A few of these dumbass hoes will also have the nerve to say that women started doing the manlet shit just because men in the past had crazy standards for women. I even saw a bitch claim that for 13,000 years women have been subjected to misogynistic standards, so their way of getting back at it is throwing every short guy in the melting pot. Like, please guys, do you understand how ridiculous that sounds? First of all, she would have to prove her claims, the 13,000 years one, and define also misogynistic standards. On top of that, even if women had pressure on their looks, it was mainly from high-status men of the past they could try to marry abiding to their standards. While the peasants either had no woman, or married what they could get, also this implies that women had no standards, which is not true for every society of the past. So in other words, those so-called standards women chose to follow, not obligated, in most cases, were so they could get a rich or powerful man. Also notice how they always try to blame it on the past to justify modern-day behavior or revenge. So they throw every male in it, or they blame the classic boogeyman, the patriarchy, as in a way to keep doing the same shit without facing any blame or repercussion. That's extremely childish and immature. Past stuff that she's not even affected by, compared to current shit. Wow. Also they go in these safe places such as blaming the patriarchy, or the past males and etc. They do this because it's a more nuanced and non-verifiable timeline to really prove their claims, so they can rely on a vulnerability of our knowledge and certainty. That's why they get away with these stupid claims. Another thing I've noticed is that the chosen group picked to avenge and bully are short guys, such a convenient group. They're more vulnerable, easy to attack, and it's socially acceptable. Also, if their reasoning is correct, when done this, why don't they get back at every single male, since you know, the past? Instead they focus only on the short guys, as if bad guys of the so-called past couldn't be tall or good-looking. You'd also have to riddle me what's even the correlation to selectively picking one group as a critique that their behavior was wrong, rather than just only focusing on their looks. Why don't you attack the single behavioral characteristics? That means that in reality it's not the behavior they don't like, but the looks of a man. Bad behavior is only worthy of mention when also jabbing a man's looks or height, rather than by itself. Another argument they'll use is, guys have ridiculous standards as well. And they'll start mentioning some nonsense with no real proof to back it up, that basically no guy said, or an extreme small minority did. Also when they claim those traits, you'll see no guy making videos of him openly saying that he would reject a woman based on that, lol. However, the opposite isn't true. A bitch will make a video saying she'll reject a short nigga just because he's short. This one is also easy to disprove because most guys literally just want a girl who looks feminine enough, which is not even a hard achievement, since for males already a good 40% of women can make the cut anyways. Or at least a girl that is around his same looks level or height, but due to hypergamy we won't even have that. For most guys the standards we have for women is simply being a woman and other stuff that isn't even much of an impossible deal. I swear the bar is so low. The other standards that I can truly think of are exaggerated makeup, fat girls, or bullshit behavior such as being mean, cheating or previous promiscuity. If you notice, these are all literally much more feasible to change rather than the standards applied to males. You can decide to have sex or not, you have a chance to lose weight, you can be kind, you can be loyal, you can stop using makeup, however you can't change your height or face. It's over. You tell me which one is worse. Remember, avoid safe strategy is making up claims, justifying it because it's hard to verify. Then dip out and keep doing the same fucked up shit, and use that claim as a reason on why you're such a piece of shit. That's one thing, guys, I'll have to tell you, and why this trend will never work, and I'm sorry but it's brutal. The reason is simple. The reason is that this trend is perpetuated by sub-5s and MTNs, and as you know, sub-5s and MTNs literally get no pussy, so even if you try to do this petty stuff, saying, hiplet, and that you won't select a girl due to that, doesn't really matter, because you were never select or in the radar to begin with. What you say has no real effect, because you're not the one they go to. So it doesn't even matter what you do. You're not the one who has the true power to reject them on said features anyways. That's because they all flee to Chads, and since Chad is the one who benefits from it, why would he even be bothered about such issues? To him, pussy is still a blessing regardless, to not mention the fact that most Chads aren't even aware of what's going on, or that even if they were, they wouldn't reject all the hiplets because it would mean they won't get as much play. But let's say that Chads hypothetically started rejecting girls due to that, which will never happen by the way, then and only then women will maybe start understanding and checking their behavior. But you guys have to understand that even if Chads stopped accepting them, then the remaining foids will go to the tier just below the Chads and so on. Even if so they had no other choice, don't you get delusional and think it will trickle down to you. Yes, surely they would trickle down to your 5-5 sub-5 ass, sure buddy, trickle down theory type of nonsense. But nah, realistically they would rather die as virgins than get engaged with us. That's how much of an abomination we are in their eyes. It's also worth mentioning how whenever caught red-handed in such behaviors, women, as a cop-out, try to directly flip the script on guys every single time, as if we actually do that sort of nonsense as much as them. Like 95% of women saying fuck you to short guys, compared to realistically not even 0.1% of guys rejecting women just because of hip dips. They're so stupid it makes me mad. Wanna know the true reason why shit won't change anything, guys? Gotcha. Well, the sole reason shit won't change is because women, when it comes to dating, have the power of selection, as if they almost hold most of the assets. You saying, hiplet, and such, would have never mattered to begin with, you were not select anyways, and women aren't affected because they have the power of choice and selection. They would have changed only if Chad did, since it's the only male they naturally choose. Women in this regard are the untouchable class. It's a stupid power relation, is like a homeless man threatening to not pay rent or not buy a house to a landlord or house owner. Little does he know, bro. Like he can't do shit. He's insignificant, he's not the one who has ownership and leverage. Also, since it doesn't affect women, it's just more reinforcement for them because they don't have to care, they don't have to adjust their behavior, they're getting what they want regardless. Why would they? Another discrepancy between us guys doing this trend is that in reality we're pretending to hate or dislike hip dips. For a guy these features are almost completely insignificant, they're so small that they don't even matter. Our brains don't think that just because of that, we'll have to ditch off the possibility of getting some pussy. That's not how it works. We're blessed enough to even have a random ass foid get on our lap. We're pretending, we have no true spine in this field, our biology doesn't even allow us to have one. Meanwhile, for women, they genuinely don't like short guys, they genuinely biologically can't stand them. It's not a joke. They're not just trolling to make us understand something about our behavior, they genuinely think and do that. And it's also because they have the power to do so, and be unaffected. As always guys, we've come to the end of the video. See you in the next brutal one. Peace.